do the work. You'll emerge healthier, lighter, more peaceful. And like Dr. Camden, I hope you'll also emerge knowing that it wasn't Jesus who was the author of the 5 purity culture myths that this book is going to deconstruct for you. Those weren't on him. They're on purity culture. But that leaves another mess, doesn't it? If it was the church that taught this to us, then how can we trust the church again? One of the hardest parts of my faith journey, as I've delved into the results of our teachings, is coming to terms with the fact that the church sometimes failed us. I know it's also done tremendous good, and I try to keep that in perspective. But when the harm is this great, and so many who perpetrated it won't admit it, it's hard to forgive. It's hard to feel welcome in the church or embrace it when there don't seem to be any amends being made. But perhaps I've been looking in the wrong place for healing. I've been wanting those who taught this stuff to own up and apologize and acknowledge the hurt that's been done. That may not happen. Yet I believe that God is raising up new generations, especially millennials like Dr. Camden and Gen Z that's coming next, who will bring healing where my Gen X brothers and sisters have failed. There's a movement going on, a shaking in the church and a desire for emotional health and wholeness, even in our sexuality, that will not be quenched. Quite simply, we don't have a choice. The crisis is too great. We need to fix this. Now, Dr. Camden knows that many of you will question your faith as you start to unpack these purity culture myths that hurt you. I get it. I do. But I hope that in this book you can catch a glimpse of the real Jesus, who is okay with messy and who doesn't want to cover you in a blanket of shame. I hope you will learn there's a chance to build a healthy sexual ethic that's not dictated to you, but flows out of authentic searching. I hope you can see that health and Jesus are not polar opposites. But wherever you land, I wish you healing. Dive in, do the work, and be free. Sheila Ray Gregoire, founder of Bare Marriage and award-winning author. Introduction. Jesus wants the rose. In 2009, a megachurch pastor delivered this sermon at a Desiring God conference, the flagship organization of evangelical pastor John Piper. There, the pastor shared a sermon he'd once heard about sex. In that sermon, the speaker took a red rose and threw it out into the crowd of 1,000 college and high school students, encouraging them to look at it, smell it, and touch its petals. Then as the sermon wrapped up, the speaker called for his rose, which was now completely jacked up. The petals are broken. The speaker held up the rose, screaming, "Now who would want this rose?" The megachurch pastor recounted the anger he felt hearing those words. Overcome, he shouted out, "Jesus wants the rose. That's the point of the gospel, that Jesus wants the rose." The crowd cheered and applauded in response. Yes, Jesus wants the rose. But also maybe Jesus doesn't want his beloved image bearers to be compared to jacked up roses in the first place. These kinds of demonstrations were rampant in the late 1990s to early 2000s when the evangelical movement known as purity culture was at its peak. Youth leaders, teachers, parents, and Christian speakers on the conference circuit frequently used an object to, well, objectify us. For those of you like me who grew up immersed in purity culture, this is all too familiar. The rose is a common symbol in purity culture object lessons. Typically, a young married male youth pastor or leader stands on stage in front of a large audience of teenagers, plucking petals off a rose one by one. Each petal represents a sexual indiscretion, making the rose less beautiful, less desirable with each loss. A rose stripped of all its petals represents the ultimate fall from grace, the loss of virginity. This is what you will be like if you have sex, he tells his audience as he removes petal after petal. You were a rose, the illustration suggests, capable of offering love, purity, and partnership. But now, you are lacking. Each time you crossed the line, you lost a rose petal, a piece of your heart. Now you are incomplete and tarnished. You are damaged goods. And because of that, you should be ashamed. Whether it was a rose, a heart-shaped piece of paper torn into shreds, tape that lost its stickiness, a cup of water that had been spit into, or a chewed-up piece of gum, the message was clear. Sex irrevocably and wholly changes you. If you give this gift too early, you are no longer acceptable. You are unwanted and unclean. But if you stay pure and don't give away pieces of yourself, these teachers suggested, God will bless you for your faithfulness. You will have an amazing marriage, a smoking hot spouse, mind-blowing sex, and a beautiful family. You will prove your spiritual maturity through your virginity. You are a better Christian if you can just say no. As long as you obey God, He will reward you with everything your heart desires.